Welcome back to the Retro Sports League. I'm back here with Matt, my opponent, in the next game, NBA Hoopz for the Sony PlayStation. It was also on the Sega Dreamcast and the PlayStation 2. I bought the PlayStation 2 version back in the day, but I reacquired this one on the PlayStation. It's probably not going to look as good. We're going to give it a shot right now. It's a midway, semi-arcade, semi-not, but the gameplay's arcade, so let's get into it.
If you watch the last one, your eyes are going to hurt on this one.
Yeah, the music's not quite as good as NBA and NBC, NBA
Those are not your
Showtime.
eyes, Tom.
So guard, forward, center. So yeah,
That doesn't make a difference because our tag mode is on by default in this game. And tag mode seems pretty important when you have 3-on-3 basketball. And we cannot see the roster.
Yeah, that's you can't see the roster from the team select screen. So there's just a lot of things that I didn't like about NBA Hoopz when I got it on the PlayStation 2 back in the day. You couldn't keep your records for one. That was a huge thing for me, even though it was 3-on-3. Here you can't even see the player names. They added like a 21 feature, which was kind of cool, but
I don't remember that.
You can play 6 players on it, but you can't keep your record, so you don't know who's the best player unless you're just tallying it on a chalkboard on your wall.
You had to be the best, Tom.
I know the Bulls suck in this game.
They got Kukoc.
2000, they were terrible. So,
I'm
going to go with the Raptors.
We were going to go with the Raptors. I was going to go with the Mavericks, but I don't know if they're going to be able to compete with the Raptors, so I'm going to have to go with somebody else. But since I can't see anybody...
See, this is the odd time, like the early 2000s, where Midway started to try to make their games a little bit more home user base, which kind of didn't make them simulation. The gameplay was still simulation, but you know, they just did things differently. It didn't have that arcade presentation that was so great throughout the 90s. I mean, I still love the arcade presentation. So Lakers are looking loaded. Shaq's on the cover of the game.
Zia Ryder, Kobe Bryant, Derek Fisher, Ron Harper.
And then the ratings are different than Showtime. In Showtime, they go up to 20. In this game, it could go up to 100 on their attributes. So,
more in line with the simulation games of the era.
Yeah, exactly. So more in line with the simulation rating system. You know, NBA Live went up to like 99 overall. NBA Shootout. So, you know, they're trying to be more like the home console versions, and that's just not what they did well. And it shows in NBA Hoopz. Come on, dude.
This is a big choice.
It takes so long.
I'm sorry.
I'm going Vince Carter. 100 dunk. You can't go wrong with that.
The 100 does look a lot better.
McGrady's on the Magic in this game.
But you got Muggsy.
Go with Wardell Curry. Steph Curry's dad. In threes at the guard. And 93 point. Ooh, Antonio Davis is a good one. But I'm going to go with an even bruisier guy. Charles Oakley.
You're going to need him against Shaq.
Yeah, he's not going to push around Shaq. Hey, the codes aren't even the same. No tournament mode because it's a, you know, it's.
They don't want to eat your quarters.
Yeah, they're not eating your quarters. That's not the goal of this game.
ABA ball code's not the same either. Oh man, this looks like a turd. Alright, the way that works isn't the same either.
Frame rate is
oh my god,
not good. So there wasn't this. I know there wasn't this problem on the.
Holy crap!
There wasn't this problem on the PlayStation 2 with the frame rate. So even though I have a lot of negative things to say about this game compared to some other Midway games, I would like to reacquire this for the PlayStation 2, maybe even the Dreamcast.
I remember the PlayStation 2 version looking just as good for the Dreamcast. It's Showtime game.
Yeah, it looked just as good as that, but this is the PlayStation, so
I'm not gonna knock it. I mean, the fact that they got it on here and it plays is good. It's not as fast as I'd want it to be, but
yeah, if you're thinking that, you know, Sony PlayStation, it started off with NBA Jam TE as the first basketball game, and then came to this 3-on-3 hoops. I'd say it looks pretty good for the 3D models, but yeah, there is.
This plays better than the PlayStation version of NBA Jam TE, in my opinion.
Yeah.
That game where you ice skate around the basketball court.
And then you still have Tim Kittrell as the announcer.
He sounds great. Sound samples don't
just like Showtime.
Don't compromise at all. Oh, man.
Carter's just packing. Also, the Hoopz buttons let you actually post up like Shaq.
Interesting.
So that's the new move in this game, post up. It's probably more useful when you do it with Shaq. Oh, a sky hook.
That's a pretty simulation move. Posting up.
Nice feed to O'Neal. Really throws it through with authority. Twisting and turning. Curry.
That's got to be good.
Oh, he should have made that.
Curry can't hit anything, even though it's a 93-pointer.
Because the game lags, I feel like the time is a little slow.
Yeah. The game looks, like NBA Showtime on the PlayStation looks similar to this. I just don't think it moves as slow. I'd have to play it again. I do have a copy of that game as well. I have every version of NBA Showtime, including the arcade, but that's the only one
There
not
are multiple
working.
versions of the arcade cabinet though, Tom. You gotta figure out a way to get all of those onto your cabinet. That would be awesome.
That spin almost took his shorts off. Lays it up.
Yeah, I think there's expansion packs, but that you could put on the actual PCB board. But I don't think you can have them all on there at one time. It's like you have to take one off and put the next one on. So it is doable.
Let's do it.
Like you just have to, I think, buy the chip set. And I have seen them on sale before on eBay.
The timing for blocking is so hard because of the just terrible lag.
It's like the spin moves aren't slow, but once you get down to the end of the court and everyone's down there, it's like, forget about it.
Yeah, it feels good in transition. And everybody's on screen. Nobody was on screen really there. The dunk was really slow.
Spin almost took his shorts off. The outside shot.
Finally, a 3 from Del Curry. Back in the day when I had Sony PlayStation 2, you know, it was back in high school, I was able to recruit guys to play like 6-player SmackDown Here Comes the Pain, NBA Hoopz, games like this. Always a fun time, but didn't really try to do it as much for this game because, of course, there wasn't the stat tracking. That was much to be desired in all games that I played. just couldn't understand how you take that out when you had that in the original NBA Jam games. And then you start taking that stuff out, and that's what really irritated me about the NBA Jam game made by EA Sports is they didn't have any of the arcade presentation. You couldn't really keep a record on there that was worth anything.
Arcade presentation is dead.
But one of the best games of basketball games in the PlayStation 2 era was NBA Street. It had arcade presentation, arcade style stat tracking.
Yeah, and it was never in the arcade.
It was never in the arcade, but they built it that way. And it took, basically, you know, Midway started floundering with their arcade basketball games, and then EA Big just picked up where they left off, and they made it even better. I feel like that was the natural progression of this series, was NBA Street. And this is where it started to go downhill.
Yeah, they kind of hit their peak with number 2, though. And then by the time you got to Volume 3, it was...
Well, yeah, and I think...
iffy. Even though that was the one I played the most.
My thing about NBA Street is, once they started adding more tricks, they just got less and less practical. Like, you're going backwards and you're going side to side, and it just... You gotta get Mo Pete sometime in there. We'll put him at guard.
Get Muggsy in there.
No, he's not going at center.
Come on.
But yeah, it became more about the tricks by the time they got to the third one.
Yeah.
And less about playing basketball. The first one was like the best balance, I feel like, and then NBA Street Volume 2 added more tricks, but it was still a really good game, still well balanced, just, you know, some added tricks, but I think they ran out of ideas going into the third one, and it just got a little bit too wacky for my liking. It was kind of cool how EA Big just had this theme of tricks as the core part of their gameplay. Because they had that SSX tricky game, and what other games did they have? They had like a freestyle dirt bike game that was about the tricks.
Yeah, I don't remember that. What else? Trying to catch it.
But yeah, tricks were the themes of their games. And it's really hard to play defense in this because like it's normal speed until you get down to taking the shot.
A lot of the problem with EA Big disappearing though is they tried to evolve their games too much into a direction that people didn't want, so people stopped buying the games. And I feel like that's why EA Big's not around. I feel like if they kept this like core arcade game play feeling, those games would still exist.
Yeah, I mean, I still like dream of the fact that they could come out with a arcade game like NBA Jam, and you know how like the Golden Tee game like hook up to online, like you could go to a bar with this huge cabinet and play people online, or
It'd be so awesome.
yeah, like you know, and have like arcade leaderboards and like arcade style presentation, or even you know, like slot machine presentation, you know, like shows the leaderboards. Like that could be a thing, but just no one making that big investment in these huge machines. I wouldn't say no one. There still are arcade games that come out, but in a arcade style sports game.
shot.
Get that board. It's good.
Just because you yell it doesn't mean it's going in.
Thought I'd give it a little boost. Music actually, to be honest, it's really not that bad. It fits well with the game.
You're just upset that it's not the NBC music.
Yeah.
Great fake.
I rarely got rid of games that I had any nostalgia or like for, so I must have really been pissed at NBA Hoopz to trade that one in.
I remember you being really angry about it.
A beautiful jump shot.
When you spend $50 when you're a freshman in high school and you don't really get money that often, you don't have a job, you're gonna get pretty pissed. Especially when every other game they had those features and then you just took them away.
It was a trend at the time too. A lot of games were taking away features, or a lot of sports games would add features in and then take them away.
I remember
EA is so good at that.
the Blitz series on PlayStation 2. It looked a lot better. It was cool. They added an extra player to the field with the impact player. But the problem with it was when you used your initials, like it was always just every time your player would have the ball, it would change to his jersey number and character model. Yeah, so like if you passed to like say Marcus Robinson on the Bears, it would just turn into like number 11, your guy.
That's really dumb.
Yeah, so that little stuff like that like irritated me. Like, why don't I want my player? I don't want it to change to my player every time I have the ball. He just changes his whole guy and number to my character. Just, like, create a player is one thing if you're signing up for that. Well, we got a tie game in the fourth quarter. I'm going to shut up for a second. Well, Pete. Little jumper. 33.8.
Somebody's got to step up here. He just levels it.
Come on.
That's Carter.
There's three guys there.
With the quick step. That was totally uncalled for.
So they got the fouls in this. I guess they're just team fouls.
Mr. Cover Athlete puts it down.
Peterson.
Oh! Yeah! Squeaked it out in this rusty game.
Took a loss in NBA Hoopz. Two talented teams with the Toronto Raptors and the LA Lakers. It was a frame rate disaster, but we got through it. Man, this isn't what I can recommend to anybody, but if you want to get the full experience, this game came out on the Dreamcast and the PlayStation 2, and I know I've already said that, but yeah, those are the systems you'd want to get this for.
For sure.
And yeah, that is NBA Hoopz for the Retro Sports League, and they still got a trivia question. The only rookie to average more assists than Andre Miller in 99-2000 was...
I'm just...
Go Steve Francis. Well, I'm 2 for 2 on trivia tonight.
I'm 0 for on trivia.
Steve Francis was a beast back in the day. No. No, thank you.
Would you like to endure this again?
No. That's it for the Retro Sports League tonight.